beast! Ah!
Hello, and welcome back to another installment of Not the Bees, the Nicolas Cage filmography podcast. My name is Megs.
I'm Elizabeth.
And this week we watched 2009's Knowing. And this stars, obviously, Nick Cage and Rose Byrne. We also have an added little sprinkling of Ben Mendelsohn, which is wonderful. So we start out, it's 1959. An elementary school is preparing a time capsule for the future. It was a suggestion from a young girl who was also a bit strange and withdrawn from the rest of the class. Her name is Lucinda. Her class's assignment is to draw a picture of what they think the future is going to look like in 50 years. But instead of drawing a picture, what she actually does is she writes a string of numbers on the front and back of the page. During the burial of the capsule, Lucinda disappears, and she's found hours later barricaded in a closet by the school's gym. She's been scratching at the door until her fingers bled. Now it's 2009. We meet John, who is played by Nicolas Cage. He is a physics professor. He has a 9-year-old son named Caleb. His wife died in a hotel fire a little over a year before, and it's clearly been tough on both of them. Caleb goes to the same elementary school that Lucinda went to, and when the capsule is opened on the 50th anniversary, he receives the envelope with Lucinda's page in it that's full of numbers. He inadvertently takes the page home. That evening, John sees Caleb has pulled his hearing aid out because it was making funny noises. He then sees the page with numbers on it and tells Caleb he shouldn't have brought it home. After Caleb goes to bed, John is drinking kind of heavily, and he spills his drink. He sets the glass down on the page on accident, and when he lifts it, there's a circle where the liquor has stained it. Something about the ring on the page intrigues him, and he writes down some of the circled numbers and concludes that it's a date, 9/11/01, and a count, 2,996, the number of people that died that day. John spends the rest of the night going through all of the numbers on the page and correlates them to disasters and tragedies that span the past 50 years and includes 3 future dates. John has his friend Phil, played by Ben Mendelsohn, also a professor, come and take a look at his work. He notices that there's a set of numbers after each circled date and count that John has not circled and asks what they are, but John doesn't know. Phil tries to talk sense into John, tells him that he'll see those numbers anywhere. Later that day, John gets a call from Caleb. He's forgotten to pick him up from school. John apologizes. He says he'll be there in 10 minutes. On the road, on the way to the school, there's a lot of traffic and he's stopped dead. When he looks at his car's GPS, he noticed the numbers of his location, the latitude and longitude. He pulls the sheet with the numbers out and checks, and this is the date that the next event will happen, and the numbers that haven't been circled are actually the coordinates for his own location. Just then, a plane falls out of the sky and descends sideways towards the highway. John is on that highway, and once it crashes, he runs to it and tries to help. He pulls out several people that are on fire and puts them out. He witnesses other small explosions that kill additional people in his path before emergency services arrive. On the page, it said that 81 people would die today. When he gets home and watches the news later, it is assumed that 81 people are dead. John finds the teacher from the day that the time capsule was buried. She was there the day that they unearthed it. He asks about the numbered page, and she tells him about Lucinda. She also tells him that she died some years earlier. Through all of this, Caleb has been hearing whispering about bad things that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. It's the reason he's taken his hearing aid out when it bothers him. He's woken up in the night by a pale man in all black who points to Caleb's window. When Caleb goes to look, he sees the forest around his house is on fire and burning, and screaming animals are running towards his house. Caleb screams, and John runs in and turns the light on. The window is smashed, but the forest is not burning. He does see the pale man, now somehow outside and far away. John grabs his gun and chases the man into the woods, but loses him. John then finds out that Lucinda had a daughter. Her name is Diana. He looks her up and follows her and her daughter Abby to a museum and approaches her while their kids are looking at an animal exhibit. He invites her and Abby to lunch with him and Caleb. While the kids play with a viewfinder, John tries to talk about Lucinda, but Diana's not having it. She says her mom was crazy. He begs her to help. He thinks his son is in danger, but she says she can't help and drives off. The news at home talks about a possible terrorist attack and for people to stay vigilant. He looks at the next date on the page and calls the police in New York to tell them where it will be from a payphone and begs them to cordon off the area. The next morning, he drops Caleb off to his sister and drives to the city. The cops didn't take his call seriously, so there are people everywhere. John goes down into the subway. He sees someone suspicious and attempts to follow. Cops follow him on the way, and they catch the guy inside one of the trains. But he's just a thief that stole some video games or DVDs. Just then there's a track malfunction, and another train hops the track and is barreling toward the train that John is on. While John is able to get out of the way and ends up saving a woman and her baby in the process, the upended train flies through the station, causing massive destruction and death before it stops. John goes home and picks up Caleb. When they get back to the house, Diana is waiting for him. John tells Caleb to take Abby inside, and Diana tells John the last date on the page that he mentioned, 10/19/09. Her mom talked about it all the time. It's the day she dies. They drive to Lucinda's old mobile home in an abandoned trailer park. Diana looks around at some things and notices that the last 3 digits Lucinda wrote may not be 33, as in 33 people, but maybe backwards letters, EE. She also tells John her mother said she could hear voices whispering to her, telling her terrible things. She moved to this area to, quote, get ready, but Diana never understood what that meant. They make their way through the house to the bedroom and back, which is where they found Lucinda after she overdosed. John finds a black rock on the ground. Caleb also has one of these rocks. He looks down and finds more of the rocks just under the bed. When he lifts the bed, on the underside of the bed frame, the words "everyone else" has been scratched into the wood over and over. Outside, Caleb and Abby are sitting in the truck, and several pale people dressed in all black, like the one that woke Caleb up in his room, appear. Abby opens the door to almost go with them, but Caleb honks the horn, and Diana and John run out to them. John sees one of them disappearing into the tall grass, and when he catches up to him, he points his gun, but the man opens his mouth and a blinding white light comes out, then he disappears. Back at John's house, he said that must be why there's no coordinates after EE, because it happens everywhere. Diana says maybe she made it all up. John hugs her and suggests they get some rest. The next morning, John finds Abby coloring an old page from a manuscript with a picture of the sun. He grabs everyone and drives to an observatory where Phil works. He makes a model of the planetary positions in the sky right now, and if the sun has what he calls a super flare, that will destroy our ozone layer and kill every living organism on the planet. Phil says that they should alert NOAA, but John says they already know. John wonders why he learned of this when he can't do anything to save anybody. Diana is sad. She knew her whole life that her mom was right. She feels stupid. She asks about going underground. She knows a cave system. No one knows about it. John says that maybe that could work, and they go back to his house to pack. John opens a locket with a picture of his family inside and decides to call his father, who he's had a falling out with over religion years ago. He tells his dad that he has a prophecy and begs his dad to go underground. The heat is only going to get worse and to be quick. His dad says he appreciates it, but if it's his time, he's ready. The call begins to get staticky and drops. John goes to get Caleb, but he's in his room scribbling numbers on a page. John takes the page, but Caleb continues to scratch into the wood of his desk. John grabs him, and Caleb comes out of it. John has another epiphany. He packs everyone into the truck and drives to the school. He finds the door to the closet that Lucinda was in and pries it off, and they go back to his house. He tells Diana he thinks Lucinda scratched the coordinates into the door. Diana thinks he's losing it, and while he tries to remove the paint from the door, she goes and gets the kids and puts them in her car and drives away with them. She stops at a gas station and leaves the kids in the car. She gets distracted by the news telling people to go underground. Caleb is able to call his dad from a payphone. When Diana sees him and takes the phone, she sends Caleb back to the car. She tells John where she is. And as they're speaking, one of the pale people gets into her car and drives off with the kids. Diana jumps into someone's Jeep and follows, only to have a semi-truck hit her as she crosses an intersection. John catches up to the accident, but Diana is dead. In her hand, she's holding a black stone. John leaves and goes to Lucinda's trailer park, as those are the coordinates he found on the door. He follows car tracks behind her trailer and ends up in an area that is absolutely covered with the black stones and gets out of the truck. One of the pale people approaches and John points his gun. Caleb runs over holding a white rabbit and tells his dad not to shoot. Abby is there too, also holding a rabbit. The kids tell John that the pale people chose them to keep them safe. They just have to go with them. But John can't go. He didn't hear their call, like Caleb and Abby did, which is what the whispers were. So he is not a chosen person. John lets Caleb go and watches what can only be a spaceship take the kids into the sky before he collapses. Sometime later, he wakes up to early daylight and drives to his family's house. His sister and parents are there. He hugs them all as the super flare happens and vaporizes them. We pan out and see the destruction as the flare vaporizes entire cities and keep pulling out to see the Earth in the path of the flare. Next, we see Caleb and Abby in a golden field, and their rabbits are with them, and the ship that brought them is lifting off behind them. The two run towards a beautiful golden tree while other spaceships lift off in the foreground. The end. Elizabeth?
Yes, dear.
What did you think about this movie?
I really liked it.
Did you?
I did. It's unique, it's creepy, it's interesting. The acting is really good. I really all around enjoyed it.
I also enjoyed it too. I do have some problems with it, obviously.
Let's hear him.
I don't understand why the house that they're living in a year after his wife dies is, like, it looks like it should be condemned. Like, the wallpaper is peeling, everything is stained, everything is gray. I mean, I understand the gray. Melancholy.
It's just an old house that they were fixing up, I think.
Do we know that they were fixing it up? I don't know. It just seems weird. Yeah, like, Caleb is just, like, tortured through this whole thing.
Yeah.
I feel like. And then he, like, willingly goes with the guys who are clearly aliens. I don't know. I have trouble with alien stuff anyways. I mean, I don't know.
It was neat how they blended, like, the alien aspect with the whispers aspect, or with the mental illness aspect.
Yeah. I mean, it was, like, I think it was a clever movie. It's just, you know, I think
a good word for it.
It was a very clever movie. I don't know, honestly, if the pale people are aliens or if they're angels. Because at the end of the movie, when they take the kids into the ship, they shed the guise that they're wearing, a very, very 90s looking, you know, pale cafe kids, basically is what they look like. And they're just beings of pure light, but they seem to have wings behind them. So not sure if this is like a religious sort of aspect or if it's just very sci-fi. It feels sort of like the two are interwoven.
Why not both?
Right, which is honestly kind of why I feel like it's really clever, because like we've taken not just like a sci-fi aspect, but we've also taken religion. We're like, why aren't they the same thing? And that's kind of an interesting perspective. I'm a little annoyed at the fact that the solar flare wasn't discussed until more than halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I feel like they could have built that aspect of it up a lot earlier, especially because, like, him being a professor and his friend being a professor is such a huge part of it.
Right.
That, you know, they would have seen the solar flare. We get solar flares all the time, and we're always, you know, they go on the news and they talk about it. They're like, 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a solar flare. It's going to disrupt communications. So it isn't, it's not something that sneaks up on us.
Right. And it's not something that should have snuck up on either of them.
Right.
I feel like. And then, you know, we don't get until, you know, I think it's the last like 20 minutes when he calls his father and he's like, this heat isn't going to get any better. We haven't heard about heat the whole movie.
Yeah.
But outside of that, outside of like those little things that annoy me, because they annoy me because they pull me out of the story. And I think, I mean, it's honestly MST3K's fault, because they raised me to fucking watch for inconsistencies through everything and make fun of it. But otherwise, I did enjoy most of it. I thought that it was well directed. I thought it was well acted. I honestly thought that the writing, other than a couple of places, was pretty good.
Yeah.
And it is definitely creepy. It almost has a sort of like ghost story feel to it for the first like half of the movie.
It's directed by Alex Proyas, and he's really good at that.
Yes. So like it's less like an in your face sort of ghosty feeling, more than just like a very cerebral
Yeah.
sort of expectation of, you know, something otherworldly that's playing a part here. But no, I enjoyed it too. I think it was a good movie.
So what would we rate this movie?
I'd be good with giving it like a B plus, unless you
Yeah.
were wanting to give it an A.
I would go A minus.
Okay, I mean, I'll defer to you on that.
What do we give the caginess of it?
Honestly, I really enjoyed his performance. He seems very much like a man a year on after losing his wife with a young child that can't connect to anyone or anything. Like, his friend Phil tries to invite him to come to dinner with him and his wife. There's a woman that, you know, maybe wants to meet him. And like, he's not having it in a way that you would expect him to not have it. The way he's able to, like, you know, conclude what the numbers are and where they stem from, like, I don't know. I enjoyed his performance. I would honestly be fine giving him an A.
Okay.
How
I
do
would
you feel
also give
about
him
it?
an A. I would also
Yeah.
give him an A.
I also really actually enjoyed the CGI of
I
the
did
movie.
too. And considering that there's a lot of it, there's CGI when the plane goes down. There's CGI when the train jumps the tracks and demolishes through the station.
Yeah.
There's CGI when the world ends. The only CGI that looked bad and it really pulled me out of the moment was when the Whisper people first visit Caleb in his bedroom and they point out the window and he goes to the window and he looks out and everything is on fire and all the animals are running. The fire effect is so bad.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. That's about the only other one that I had an issue with, and not that I really had much of an issue with it, it's just very obviously fake, is the last scene with the kids in the golden field.
Yeah.
And it's really just because, like, the fauna around them, the flora and fauna, are not earthly. Like, it's, I guess, supposed to mimic wheat, but it's not wheat. It's like tubey.
Yeah.
But it moves like it's underwater, which, being that it was the very end of the film, I was fine with that. But yeah, you're right. Otherwise, the remaining CGI is pretty spectacular. The way that the train mows down commuters on the platform as it's just barreling through like fucking poles and tiles
Yeah.
was sick. The small explosions, that honestly, that the plane sequence itself was really good because I think it's for the most part single shot, or it's like
Yeah.
comprised of like two single shots where he's just, and I love when directors do that, but like he's just running through and like small explosions are happening and vaporizing people in front of them. He's pulling people and turning them to put them out, pulling people straight out of the fucking plane. That whole sequence was very, very well done. And like the sort of wah 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 effect that you get after like explosions, like it suits perfectly. Like, he's just literally running on instinct at that moment and can't stop what he's doing until emergency service people run and grab him, like, we got this, you have to go. And he's like, okay. And it was really good. I also thought that the shape of the spaceships was really unique.
It was.
They kind of looked like fairy lights that were like giant flowers, which was really cool. Yeah, I mean, overall, this movie is watchable. Yeah, it's definitely an A minus. Cage definitely gives an A performance. And Ben Mendelsohn was a nice little sprinkling. I don't see him often enough, but he's wonderful. But that is going to do it for us here this week. If you like what we're doing, you want to follow along just like ever, you can find us on socials, on Instagram at Not the Beast Pod. We do share, photos and stuff of every movie that we watch every week. And if you would like to support us monetarily, which we would super enjoy, and be very much appreciative, you can find us on patreon.com/notthebees, where you'll get access to our Discord and early access to episodes. But that's going to be it for us this week. I've been Megs,
I've been Elizabeth.
and we'll see you next time, kids.